everybody out there in podcast land. This is episode number 168 of eBay the Right Way. Today's date is June 5th, 2024, and my guest is Sally. No announcements this week, so we will jump right in. Hello, listeners. And today I have Sally with us. And Sally, tell us where you're located.
I'm in North Carolina, Greensboro area.
Greensboro. Okay. Good for you. And how's everything going for you on this Memorial Day weekend?
It's going nicely. We have some good weather, and I'm just enjoying kind of low-key weekend. So yeah.
Good. Okay. Well, we always start off with talking about how you came to eBay. What's your backstory there? So do you want to share that with us?
Sure. So I joined eBay, I believe it was in January of 2001. I don't exactly remember how I discovered eBay, but I just know from looking at my account, I've been a member since January 2001. And what I started out selling was the Avon Ruby Red Cape Cod dishes. My mother had purchased them over the years when I was younger and basically told me, if you get rid of them for me and you sell them, you can keep what you make. And so that is what I started selling on eBay.
And how did that go?
I think it went well. I do remember, now I had no experience like shipping anything, selling the cake plate, and it did arrive broken. And I remember getting an irate email from the buyer. But things happen, you learn. But I do think that most of it sold well. I don't remember any specific amounts with the Cape Cod, but that was kind of the start of it for me.
Well, and in my experience, generally speaking, Avon stuff doesn't really have much value.
I don't think now. I don't know if it did then, but yeah.
Okay. So that was your sort of practice product to learn on. And that was pretty brave to start with something breakable like that.
Well, I think the way I was looking at it was I didn't have to pay anything for it.
Right. Exactly.
It was just, cleaning out the house, which I've sold a lot of stuff since then from the house. I think like we all do. But that is, and I think one of the things about eBay that I love so much is, so I was born in 1975, class in 1993. So when I was a young adult coming up, getting into the work world, there was nothing you could do at home. Nowadays, you can work. I could quit my job today and have, an at-home job next week. But I think it was just so neat to be able to make money from home, like selling things from your house. And I still kind of get excited about it, even though work from home now is not unique at all.
Well, and I was the same, in the same mindset when I discovered eBay. It was like, I don't have to go anywhere. And at the time, the big thing was the home parties,
Yes.
Mary Kay, and Mary Kay and Avon, you just kind of had to find a network of people to sell to. And then there was, Party Light Candles and Pampered Chef and what was the toy one? Discovery Toys,
Maybe I vaguely remember.
But everything required having these home parties and finding people to have them for you. And it was like, that's, if that's your thing, great. But it wasn't for me. It was like, I just want to sit down and do something and make money with the computer.
I agree. I'm not a salesperson.
No,
you don't want to buy it.
either.
Okay, sorry to bother you. So this was something that like they come to you. And it's much more suited to my personality.
I use that all the time. I'm not a salesperson. I'm a teacher. And, if you're already on board and you want to know more, I'm glad to help you. But I'm not just go up to somebody and say, hey, have you thought about this? And, I like working with people that already have the idea, that are already in that space of reselling, and they get it.
Right.
So who's in your household besides you?
So I'm married. My husband and I actually just celebrated 20 years last August.
Good.
Thank you. And we have two amazing daughters. Ava is 19 and she just finished up her first year of college. And Caroline is 17. Now, my girls are 20 months apart, but 1 year in school. So Caroline's graduating in like 11 days, and then she'll be leaving the nest as well. Um, and then I'm also a proud doting dog mom of two little girl German pinchers. So we have a full house and we're busy with all of the
And
girls.
is your family on board with your eBay selling?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
they'll go to the post office for me to drop off packages, if necessary. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Great. And where do you find things to sell? Because you're probably gone through your home by now.
Yes. So mostly it's thrift shops. And I really do want to get into um garage sales, but also I think some church rummage sales would be a good spot. And I am thinking, in August, both of the girls will be gone, and I am going to have some more time to fill. Um, so I do want to get into that, but really just thrifts. Um, Goodwill, although as everyone else has said on your podcast recently, the prices really have gotten high. And then some independent shops in the area that I prefer that do more, I think, for like local organizations. There's a couple that I go to, one in particular that helps women who've had maybe drug problems, legal problems, abusive relationships. And I like to patronize places that are helping people like in the, more
Yeah.
locally. And those smaller ones, well, some of them, one that I go to has some really good prices. Another one, you're looking at the clothing, it's like you're in TJ Maxx with the prices. So you
Yeah.
just,
I mean, it can be hit or miss.
yes,
I ventured to a new one last week and it was a big place, but I was in there literally 2 minutes because I saw the prices and I'm like,
nope,
of all, I don't know how you stay in business with these prices. Because they had Walmart stuff for more than Walmart charged for it.
right.
And
Yeah,
like clothing, like just t-shirts, nothing special, were like $13. And I'm
I
like,
know.
and now that I've discovered the bins, I'm like, they come out to be about 25 to 50 cents a piece there. So
Right.
I'm
So,
really seeing the light on that. But and then I go to a hospital thrift store
okay.
and yeah, I've gotten some things there and they have sales all the time, which was great. Like I moved here to Illinois just at the beginning of the spring. So they had like all boots $1,
Okay.
all
Yeah.
coats 25% off, because it's small and they have to turn over their inventory.
Right.
And so I got some good things, but it's a surprise. You never
You
know.
never know.
There's not a whole lot of information online, like what's the sale this week. You just have to show up and
Right.
hope that the thrifting gods are with you and see what you find. So you
That's
can't really
kind
be
of
too much of a planner. You have to just kind of
right.
fly by the seat of your pants and see what you find.
But that's also part of the thrill of the hunt. I mean, I always
Absolutely.
feel, and I think for me, it it goes back to my childhood. Now, my mother used to buy Woman's Day and Family Circle magazines at the supermarket. And when I was a kid, I always used to love going through those. I don't think they make Family Circle anymore, but I get Woman's Day now. But anyway, I probably was, I don't know, 7, 8 years old. And I read in one of those magazines a woman at either a garage sale or a thrift store claimed that she found a Fabergé egg for 25 cents and it was worth like $3,000. Now,
Oh
I
my
don't
gosh.
even know if a Fabergé egg is still valuable, if I'd recognize one, but that's always for 40 years. That's been in my head. And I just have that, desire to one day, like really find like a real winner like that. I
You
haven't
will
yet.
keep looking. I know I tell the story all the time about the autograph book I found. And
Yes.
it's just laying in one of those, I call them baskets on the end of the aisle at Goodwill with like the socks and the hats. And it was just a bunch of random stuff mixed together. And I always look in there because I like to sell, beanies and hats and gloves and the little things. And
Right.
this autograph book mixed in there. And I was like, this is interesting. And I start flipping through it. And it's like all these famous people, like, Tony Bennett and Clint Eastwood and all the, I'm like, oh my God, what is this? And so it was
Right.
$3. and I ended up selling it for $1,000.
Wow.
I know many sellers have sold items worth more than that, but that was my big find. And I'd never seen anything like it before out there in the wild. It was in the wrong place. It was just sitting there waiting for me. So,
Wrong place, right time.
yeah, yeah. And so you just have to put your eBay glasses on.
Right. And I found some good things, just not at that level.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because yeah, I've seen your posts on the group, which is why I reached out to you to talk about some of your sales. And so why don't we just transition into that right now, and you can talk about some things you found and sold.
Okay, so I did take some notes, and I'll kind of start going back to this would be after the Cape Cod. Now, like I said, I have been a member since 2001. I have not been selling for, 23 years straight. It kind of, I take some breaks. When my kids were little, I was a stay-at-home mom for 6 years. I would flip some of their things. But I'd say in the fall of 2021, I really kind of got more into this consistently, where I would not even really, I wouldn't say it's a part-time business, but I'm kind of like a hobby seller, but it's been pretty steady. But if you go back to some of my earlier sales, and this would have to be going back about 20 years, when you could go to Barnes and Noble, and on the sale tables, you could actually get books that you could really make a profit on. And I
Yes.
purchased one. It was $5.98, and there were two of them, but I only picked up one because I wasn't sure. It was a binder of listening seminars for the business world. And I don't know how long it took to sell, but I sold it for $225 on eBay.
Very good.
And kind of kicked myself that I hadn't gotten the other one, but it was a Barnes and Noble like 40 minutes away, and it was probably several weeks later, so I didn't go back to see if it was there. An another sale, there was a plus size store called The Avenue. Not as popular as Lane Bryant. Most people have heard of Lane Bryant.
Yes,
And
I heard of the Avenue.
I don't even know if they're still in business. But again, this is going back this was before I was married. So it's going back a little more than 20 years. They had thong underwear in little boxes that they would sell. They went on clearance for either 99 cents or $1 each, and there were 40 of them. And they were in different sizes. Some were red, some were black. I bought all 40, and I sold them all for between as low as $8 or as high as 16. And they came in boxes, but you take it out of the box, throw it in an envelope. It was so easy to ship. And I got some colorful feedback from satisfied purchasers on that one too. So that was that was cool. But that was great because it was quantity. Wasn't a huge profit, but relist. It doesn't take a lot of time.
Right. So wait, go back. How much did you pay for each box?
It was either 99 cents or $1. They were
Okay.
clearancing them
Yeah,
out.
I like those steady sellers where
Yes.
you have a quantity, and it's even better if it's all exactly the same. Um,
Right. And
but
these were pretty much, you had maybe 2 or 3 sizes, and they were red or black. So it really was not a lot of work on my part.
uh-huh.
So that one was fun. And I also used to, going back probably 20 years, I would, even at like an Old Navy, I would just purchase on clearance. Plus size jeans were a big one for me, plus size maternity jeans. But I think at that point, it wasn't necessarily as easy to get things in certain sizes. Now you can go online anywhere, but 20 years ago, you couldn't.
Back in the late 90s, I guess, when eBay first started, there was a lot of moms selling gymboree, and
Yeah.
either because their kids wore it and they were just trying to get their money back out of it, or they'd go to the stores and buy either on sale or using rewards or something like that. So that, the retail arbitrage part of it. But you're right. I sell Old Navy stuff all the time. And when I get tired of my own clothes, I sell them, and I wear Old Navy, and it's like, if it's something I like, it'll sell.
Oh, yeah. So this was probably in the last couple of years. The Goodwills in my area used to do this fundraiser, which unfortunately seems to have stopped with COVID. It was called Rock the Runway, and it would be a fashion show. Like 5 or 6 local designers would hit all of the local Goodwills. They would put together fashion outfits with it, and it would be a runway show, and the winner would be announced. So I used to go with some girlfriends, and they would put up at the venue like their Willows boutique, which is their higher end stuff. So
Hmm.
I have, for as long as I can remember, I've been a Louis Vuitton fan and also Fendi, and I found a cute Fendi bucket bag. Looked kind of vintagey, and it was $25 at Rock the Runway at the little boutique. So I bought it for myself. It sat in my closet for like 2 years. It just wasn't really practical. So I said, oh, let me see if I could flip this on eBay. And I sold it for $325. Now,
Wow. That is
again, I bought it
awesome.
with the intent of using it for myself, but you know how it seems like a good idea at the time, and then for years you don't use it. So that was a good one. Um, So about a year ago in my local Goodwill, I found a Spanish Bible, and it had a specific name. I can't remember right now, but it was leather. It was in a box. I mean, it looked brand new. And I think I actually posted on the group and asked for like some feedback, and it cost me $1.99. And I ended up listing it. It sold like in a day. I probably could have gotten more, but it sold for, I think, $140. And it went to a reseller. But you know what? I made over $100. Someone else can make some money off of it. Like, yes, if I found another one, would I price it higher? Sure, but I still made my money. So I was happy with that.
Yeah, and a lot of times whether you accept the offer has is dependent on like what kind of week you've had. Has it been slow? How long you've had the item? People ask that all the time. Like, what's the formula for sending offers? What percent off do
Mhm.
you give them? And I don't, I just, it's a gut feeling thing for me. It's just, okay, I've had this for a year. If you offer that, I'll take it. Um, because there's always more, there's
Yes.
always more where that came from. And I become less of a long tail person as my business has
Mhm.
evolved because I'm confident that you can always find more stuff. And, um, hey, I paid $1 for it. You offering 100, I'll take it.
Absolutely. I mean, again, I feel like it's funny to say like my business model, because this is not, it's more of a hobby, but I'm not looking to have a warehouse. I want to flip stuff. I'm probably more of a fast nickel than slow dime. And sometimes, honestly, you get sick of looking at stuff. When I scroll through my active listings, there's some of them that's like, oh, for goodness sake, would you just sell already? You want to, get rid of, and that's when sometimes I'll really do some good sourcing, is when I feel like, oh, I really need to restock. I'm not looking to have things sit there for 3 years.
Yeah,
So,
you kind of get in a lull where it's like, I need to learn some new products or find a different way of getting inventory. So I'll see different things because it does get almost boring sometimes. It's just the same old over
yes,
and over again. If you're going, I got that way with thrift stores, and it was just, there's only certain things in there.
right.
And I've explored different things now that I've moved to a different area, a rural area. I mean, I had to. And I'm seeing all kind of things that I'd never seen before that I know are out there. I know about them. I'm just like, when am I going
Right.
to see that? So it is kind of you have to push yourself out of that lull sometimes. With change is
Hmm.
going to happen, because if you keep doing the same thing over and over, you're going to keep getting the same results. So I feel you on that of like, is anyone ever going to buy this? I sold something the other day I'd had for 3 years.
And it's such a feeling of relief when that happens. And I think too, when you get out there, I mean, that's how you learn. It really is. And I sometimes feel overwhelmed when I go into a thrift store, because there's so much. I always seem to be like, okay, I have, 25 minutes to just run in here. I always feel pressed for time. And, I want to do the whole store in that amount of time, but you're not, unless something that is obviously a winner is just sitting there right in front of your face, which is not so common. Um,
Hmm.
it can be tough. But I actually discovered a brand of clothing that I had never heard of called Bluefish.
Hmm.
I was just looking through some racks, and I think I saw that it was made in the USA. And that was a flag to me that it could be worth something, because I find like 90% of the things on the thrift store racks, it's your Walmart, your Kohl's, your Target brands, which I'm not knocking them. I wear some of that. But in terms of reselling it, you're not going to make anything. So
And that's
this,
and like Fashion Bug and Cato, and
yes,
that's called fast fashion, where
right.
they just make it as fast as they can, and it's cheaply made with inferior materials. And yes, people like it and it will sell, but it's not your well-made Italian
No,
stuff that's gonna, or your LL Bean that's gonna last really forever. The Carhartt stuff.
right.
Um, it's the it's the fast fashion with sequins on it, and it's pretty and cute. But yeah, a lot of what's in thrift stores is you really have to learn how to separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak, just and find those good items.
Right. So I see this shirt, this brand, Bluefish, and I look it up on my phone really quickly, which I'm a little uncomfortable doing that in the stores. I try to, be discreet. Um, but I got the sense that it's like vintage. I saw some comps. It seemed like it was a good idea. And there were actually 6 of them next to each other on the rack. Somebody had like cleaned out. Now, of the 6 items, one has a little stain. I haven't listed that yet. And one is a linen vest, and one of the 3 buttons is missing. So I've very, upfront about that in my listing. But so far, of those 5 that I've posted, one of them, which was just like kind of, I described it as a t-shirt, sold. Each item cost me $2. I sold that one somewhere between 79 and I think it was $79. Might have been
Really?
89. That is a good brand to look out for. And I read about the history of it. The woman who created this brand was like 17 years old in, I think, late 80s, early 90s, and was just looking for different clothes than the fast fashion. She makes everything is sourced in the United States, organic cotton and linen. It was like really, really cool. And, I didn't hear about that brand anywhere else. I just got out into the stores and started looking. And I'll be honest, when you sent me the message about being on the podcast, which was the day before my 49th birthday, it was a little birthday present. My first reaction was like, no way. Like, I'm not like these other people. Like, they're legit. They're real eBayers and resellers, and they know what they're doing. And then I kind of took a step back and, even though it's a little bit outside of my comfort zone, said, I might have something to offer that somebody wants to hear, but I don't know. I guess it's kind of human nature. Your expectation is everyone else is so much more sure of themselves. They walk into Goodwill and they see 20 things instantly and they know. And I know from listening to your podcast, that's not really the case, but you just get out into it. I've bought things that were bombs, but you know what? That's part of learning.
Everybody does. We should have
Yeah.
a bomb thread on the group of like my crappiest sale of the week or something. But back to your comment, that is a very common response when I reach out to people. Most people, I have to go through a lot of people asking them.
Mm-hmm.
Most are, they feel like they don't have anything to offer. And that is so not true. If you are doing anything on eBay, something like right there, that Bluefish. I did not know that. I've been selling clothing since 2003. I didn't know anything about that. So I've already learned something from you.
Right.
Probably more stuff coming up, but just for the listeners, if you get asked to be on this, it's just 2 people talking. It's pre-recorded. I edit everything. So some people just don't, they're a little too introverted. They don't want to
Right.
do conversation. It's never live. I don't do anything live, nothing like on YouTube, because I'm all about editing it and making it a superior product, because we've all been on things that aren't edited, and it's just maddening to try to listen to it. So
Oh, sure.
just want to encourage the listeners, reach out to me if you want to come on, or if you get approached. Don't feel like, even if you've just been selling for a few months, because there's a lot of those out there, and that's great perspective for the new people. Like, here's another new person just like me that's having success. And we all have different life experiences, and that's where we can learn from each other, because
Oh,
there's a
sure.
whole lot I don't know. And the people that post on the group all the time and they have these high dollar sales, I guarantee you, and they've told me, well, yeah, I have bomb sales too. I have worst sales of the week or whatever. So
Right.
it's just, be careful what you're watching and understand. Of course, you're going to post your best sales on the thread. You're excited about it and you want
Right.
to show I did this, but everybody has those bread and butter items, $10 items, whatever. And that's just part of it. That's just part of the mix of products. But thank you for saying that
Hmm.
you were hesitant.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not pushy. I'm just, I would love to have you on. Everyone has something to offer. If you're not comfortable, I totally understand that. It's not a good time. Get back to me later, something like that. So anyway, yeah, you've had some great sales.
I have, and to be honest, I'm way more of like a lurker. Again, I do work full time. I'm a runner. I run and work out like 5 times a week. That's why, and plus, my number one job before anything else is, mom and, CEO of the house. So I do feel, and again, that's what like I said before, I feel like some of my time is going to open up when the girls are both at school. And I am hoping to kind of take it to another level. I don't know if I'm ready to try estate sales yet, but again, you just go. I mean, that's how you get ready. You just go to one.
Well, I'll
Um,
challenge you to try it. Just go and look around. I guarantee you're going to see something that you're going to buy. And I've walked out empty-handed because it just wasn't either the prices were too high or it just wasn't, in my wheelhouse, so to speak. It just wasn't stuff I was interested in. But yeah, just throw yourself out there and do it and see what's out there and try different companies too, because
okay.
they all price differently. Some will not negotiate at all. Others will negotiate on the second day and, fill a bag for however much. And they're all different.
Okay.
So do you think, well, two questions. What
Okay.
is your regular full-time job?
I'm a high school librarian.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I love books. Being around books all day would just be great. So much knowledge around you.
You know,
Okay. And
it's it's
go ahead.
funny though,
Sorry.
because I went into school. Well, I was a high school English teacher before my kids were born, took 6 years off, went into library because yeah, for some of the same reasons I became an English teacher, love to read, love books. Basically, most of my job, we are one-to-one with Chromebooks, and my school has about 1,700 students. So that has become the bulk
Wow.
of my responsibility is managing and handling those. Um, but I put a positive spin on it because out of all of those students, only so many of them are readers. Every kid has a computer, and I get to have little pleasant 5-minute interactions with such a wide, scope of the school. I get to meet more students this way, and I like that. And it's a positive interaction. It's not like when I was a high school English teacher and I might have to call your mom because you're failing or you're acting up. It's
Oh,
pretty
yeah, that's
positive.
different.
So,
Yeah.
but
So,
what was your other question?
so you've got one in college and one transitioning to college. Do you
Mhm.
think your eBay business is going to help with that expense?
Oh, well, I mean, it's been helping with, kids 20 months apart, cars, car insurance, all the extra things. But
Mhm.
sure, and I would love to make more and then it will help more. Um,
Right.
last just as an example kind of how it does help, and I know everyone who sells has different things they use the money for, but we went to a family wedding in Nashville and we drove, and we had a flat tire on the way home. Bottom line, my husband needed 4 new tires on his car, and that month, by the time the credit card statement was due, I'd made enough on eBay to pay for those tires, so we didn't have to hit savings. I mean, that's what's great about to me about eBay is like a side hustle hobby business, because there's always extras, things you want to do, things that you have to do. And
Mhm.
you can never have too much money, so it always helps.
Yeah, I was explaining my eBay business to somebody the other day and I was like, yeah, it's just the thrill of the hunt and everything. And I just like to make money. I don't
Yeah.
know. That's just a thing for me because growing up, I was a Gen X kid and, latchkey kid. And I have three siblings.
Hmm.
And, if you wanted something, you had to figure out how to get it. middle class. I started babysitting when I was
Right.
11, mother's helper kind of thing. And I liked having my own money and not having to ask, Mom, can you buy me these jeans? No, those are too expensive. And I remember saving
Yeah.
up my baby's money in like ninth grade, and I bought a pair of Calvin Klein jeans,
Ooh, nice.
and they were like a size 3. And
I
14
know.
year old, um, I didn't stay a size 3 very long, and it
No,
was
none
just
of us
devastating
do.
when they didn't fit anymore because your hips start to grow, and it's like, but that was my most memorable, proud purchase, was going to the mall and buying those jeans because I wanted to be just like Brooke Shields in those Calvin
Oh,
Klein
yeah.
jeans. And we had to hustle it and figure out ways to get money, and that never left me in life. Was I just don't wait. I don't like asking people for money. I just figure it out. And I
Right.
think a
And
lot of
I always love if there's I've always kind of been a hustler like that, always looking for something, to make a little bit extra. So this is, and I have fun with this. I really just, I get a lot of laughs out of it. I mean, where else can you go spend $2, on a book and then the next day you've sold it for over $100? I do try to have fun with it because like I say, it's a hobby. And if I start to get aggravated, then I'm not going to want to do it. And I don't want to get aggravated.
right,
So I just
right.
try to keep it's at the level that I can handle. My sales the last month in May in particular, this has been one of the probably slowest months since I restarted up in 2021. But at the same time, we have a lot going on. We have senior awards this week. We have graduation to get ready for, as you've said many times. And I couldn't agree more. You just suit this to your life. It's not like the job I have to go to every day. When life is busy, I back off. Yes, I'm going to make less, but it'll start back up when I have time.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I really don't recommend reselling as a full-time income
No,
because it's
I would
too
not want to depend
unpredictable.
on that.
Yeah, even if you're on multiple sites with different products, it's still unpredictable. And
Hmm.
there's hills and valleys. And when you're in a valley, you're like a little panicky, I got to pay this bill and money's not there. So,
Right.
or at least if you are reselling full time, you plan for it and you know that there's going to be slow times, and make sure you've got a backup for that. But I feel like resellers, I don't know a whole lot of them that just do this. Some are retired and they're getting their pension and their social security, and this is a little bonus on top of
Right.
it. Or, they've got other things going on, an antique booth in addition to eBay, and or a part-time job, part-time dental hygienist or whatever. You just kind of have to put it together like a puzzle and
Yes.
make it work. And I think that is more fun than like our parents' generation, who worked for the same company for 40 years and did
Right.
the same thing. And we can sort of bob and weave and do different
Sure.
things. And it just makes it more interesting. I don't think I could have even stayed with the same company that long.
No,
The
I
way,
know.
opportunities everywhere. And also the baby boomers are changing what retirement looks like.
Right.
We don't have to be Grandma Walton sitting on the front porch snapping beans. We can be doing all kinds of things when we're
Yeah.
retired, and still having fun and feeling productive and making some money on the side. So a lot of opportunities there, but I
Oh, yeah. And
digress.
I plan to continue with this. Now, I have, quite a ways to go before I can retire, but I see myself, doing this then. And maybe when I have grandkids, it'll be money to take them to the toy store or to Disney World. I mean, it's just something I, I really do enjoy it. And as long as eBay stays where, it's user friendly enough for me to keep going with it, I absolutely would plan to do that.
Well, and I feel like retirement used to mean you just stop working and you stop doing anything. Now it means you're not committed to having to go to a job anymore, and you can do
Right.
whatever you want. It's just, you can do whatever you want.
Right. And I also I'm not as I get older, I get more concerned about the environment. I wasn't particularly concerned when I was young, but now I like the fact that some of the stuff will get thrown away. I mean, I have a sale, and this is like a perfect example of that. So we are a Disney family. We're in the Disney Vacation Club. So that's been, my kids have been brought up. We go to Disney World. A couple years ago was their 50th anniversary. And I got the girls like this lemonade in a plastic commemorative cup with like a glitter ice cube. It was like, $10 each for these two lemonades. So, we're packing to go home and we have these plastic cups they came in, which, they were more like sturdy than a Solo cup. But still, it was a plastic cup. But I said, oh, you know what? Well, I'll bring them home. We'll use them a couple times, whatever. So I bring them home. And then I just said, I'm going to just see if anybody's selling these on eBay. Bottom line, I ended up selling them, the pair of them, for $24.95. So I got my money back for the overpriced lemonades that I bought my kids in Disney World. And otherwise, they would have gone to the landfill. But that 50th anniversary logo, someone wanted. And so that was, I just love something like that.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I remember that 50th anniversary, and there was a lot of products created for that.
Yeah.
Tons. It was like Disney and Coca-Cola are just the marketing, and McDonald's are just the marketing geniuses,
Yeah.
and they make products on purpose that are limited or for the anniversaries or whatever. And gosh, there was so much merchandise, t-shirts and those cups and all that stuff. But yeah, if you're a Disney person, hang on to anything you buy, because it could be worth something in the future.
I have another one. There's spirit jerseys that they make. They're like
Oh
sweatshirts and
yeah.
they're all decorated for different occasions. So it was 2019. The girls and I went, just the three of us, for the very Merry Mickey party. My daughter Ava, I think it was turning 15. And I bought a spirit jersey, and it was a Christmas themed one with like their Christmas treats on it. I think it was $79, and I had 30% off for being in the vacation club. So I spent like 50 something for it. I took it home. I wore it for a couple years. Just kind of was like, I don't want it anymore. I sold it in the last probably 6 or 8 months for $89. So I had a souvenir, which I used for as long as I wanted. And then I sold it and even made a few dollars after fees over what I paid.
Isn't
Um,
that great?
yeah, that's where I say it gives me a lot of laughs, eBay. It's just like, that's fun. I mean, I wouldn't suggest going and buying a lot of high-end stuff and saying, oh, I'm going to wear it for 5 years and then sell it and make my money back. Might not happen, but it can happen.
Yeah. And I kid all the time, like with my new husband and my kids. It's like, I usually buy things for myself at a thrift store. I get it cheap.
I do too sometimes. Yeah.
And, I don't even know how to buy new clothes, because I never, like, if I go into a store and everything has price tags on it, it kind of freaks me out. It's like, I'm not used to that.
Right.
I just would pick things up for myself while I was out there finding eBay stuff. But what's funny is like, oh yeah, I got this top for $2 and it's real pretty and sequiny and everything. And then I'll end up selling it a year or two later for, 20. And it's
Right.
like, my closet is a cash center. It just, I wear stuff, or I even wear my inventory.
Oh, wow.
And everything is for sale. And we went to Sam's Club the other day, and I bought some new clothes. I mean, woo, Sam's Club. But
Oh, I get
it was,
things at Costco.
it was weird to buy brand new stuff, because I don't ever do that. It's like a game,
Oh,
you
sure.
know, finding something you really like, that's comfortable, that looks good on you. And then you know how it is. You wear it for a while, then you're sick of it.
Right.
And then you sell it for 4 times what you paid for it, or whatever. And that's the game to me.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
You have anything else on your list?
Okay, so you did mention the bins. I've been to the bins a couple times. It's like I have to be in the right mindset. I don't know what like that mindset is, but I know if I'm there, right? So I did the first time that I visited the bins. I found I don't know if you remember Tori Amos. She was like a rock singer in the 90s.
Yes.
and it was a cassette, and I think it was like called To Jupiter and Back, something like that. And it looked like it was pretty much like brand new condition. I bought it for 50 cents, and within about 6 months, it sold for $45.
Wow. Excellent.
I also found that first visit, I found a greeting card with $30 cash in it
Ha.
in the bins. Now, I did keep it. I have to be honest with you. If it had been at one of the local little shops that I feel like really does good for the community, I would have given it to them. I do not necessarily, I did not feel compelled to do so. Um,
Well, and
at the
sometimes you don't
Goodwill
find it till you
bins.
get home. You know,
Right. You
you're
couldn't
going
find out
to
who
look
it
for
originally
stuff.
belonged to. I mean, and
Yeah, well, if you're doing books, especially, or things in pockets, I found money, and
right,
it's like, well, I guess that was just, my lucky day. This is a
right.
little gift for me.
I do find the bins to be overwhelming, though. I don't love selling clothes on the whole, so I didn't really hit the clothes, and it's so messy. I mean, I would go back, and I know you can find some great things there, but like I said, I just have to be in that kind of headspace. Um,
Yeah.
but that cassette was great. I found a couple like homeschool math workbooks that maybe I made $10 or $12 on one, which again, it's not bad. You sell 10 of them, it adds up. Um, so I wouldn't rule out the bins, but it's probably not going to be a regular sourcing spot for me.
Yeah,
I'd
I
say
feel
that.
that. You got to be in the mood to do it, and sometimes you don't find anything, and it can be a lot of junk to dig through. And like the clothing bins, they're so heavy. The clothing is heavy. You know, just you gotta be strong. You gotta pick up all that stuff and see what's underneath it. And also I found the ones with the stuffed animals are really deep. It's
Okay.
like, how are you gonna take all that out and see what's on the bottom? And I'm a short person, and like, am I gonna fall in there? And
And in general, I'm not a germaphobe, but I think to wear plastic gloves is not a bad idea because I picked up one kid's backpack. It was a nice brand, and I just sort of started looking. There's all like food crumbs. I found in one purse like a bag of pills. Probably just like
oh
Tylenol, but
gosh.
it's kind of like, you know what? No. And it might just be that one bins I went to. Maybe it's just a little bit less organized and kept up.
And where
Um,
is that near you?
Greensboro.
It's in
Yes,
Greensboro? Oh,
it is.
okay.
I've never been. There's a bins in Winston-Salem. But I try to stay close by because, like I said, I might be on the way home from work. There's one spot that I usually maybe can get to around 5:30. They close at 6. So if I have some time, I'll go in there, and whatever I can do in a half hour, I do. But yeah, but the bins, some people just really strike gold. So, good
Well, I
for
do think
them.
they're all different.
Yes.
Somebody was telling me about one that they ring a bell or sound an alarm or something every time a new bin comes out to create, a little bit of pandemonium there. And
Mm,
when I go to doesn't do that. But some people are in there all day. They just wait for the next one to come out. And that's just what they're doing all day.
right.
There are a lot of younger people making videos about
Yes.
the bins, and it's like that's why they're in there, is they're looking, but they're also doing footage for their videos. And
I've
I saw
watched
two.
some of those, but
Yeah.
I kind of feel like you're just going to find what you're going to find. They're pulling out the
Yeah.
highlights.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And there were two guys in there the last time I went, and they were young, early 20s, maybe, whatever that
Mhm.
generation is. Um, and all they wanted was Levi's jeans,
Okay.
which is great. They picked out what they wanted, but it was like, well, I don't want any of that. You can have all of it. I'm not even going to look in that bin because that's not my thing. But if there's a lot of people in there, you don't know what they're looking for. Are
Right.
they even looking for the same thing you are? And I was in the stuffed animal section, and they pushed out one of the flat bins full of little
Mhm.
lubbies and this kinds of stuff I love. And there's
Yes.
nobody around. I was the only one back there, and I found some great things in there.
That's
because
great.
nobody had looked through it yet. Yeah. So I'm getting better at it, but I think they're all different.
Hmm.
And um, you gotta like, you gotta, okay, this is gonna take 2 hours if you're gonna look at
Yeah,
everything.
you can't go to the bins and think you're getting in and out of there in 20 minutes.
No,
I
it's
mean,
it's not a
that's
quick run
not,
through thing.
no.
Yeah, because it's just too much in there. So
But I have to
I'm
tell you, speaking of your lovies, you have me on a hunt. My like dream is to find a baby Morgan, but not just to find one. I have in my head that like some baby Morgan employee is going to have like a case in their house and they're going to downsize and I'm going to find it in a thrift and have like 12 or 24 of them. So that's my big wish. But yeah, I always look for the baby Morgans.
Me too. Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day, looking through the linens. I'm like, it's time for me to find a baby Morgan. Okay, so now I'm declaring it out to the universe. It's time for me to find one. I've known about those for what, 10 years? Um, but yeah, I was at a garage sale yesterday and found
Mhm.
three of those loveys with the, little cute doll on it and stuff for a quarter. And
Yep.
I just like those. I like working with them. They're cute. They're easy to wash. They sell. Sometimes you got to hold on to them for a while until that person needs it. But
Right.
a lot of them were, only made for a year or limited edition kind of thing. And um, people buy them for all kinds of reasons. They want a second one for their baby, or they had that one when they were a baby, or their
Right.
child had that one, or they collect them, or whatever it is. But I'm looking for the Eden plush little multicolored bear. It's like a
Okay.
pastel bear that sells for over 100.
Wow.
And yeah, there's certain ones I know about that's like
Right.
the Eden plush are good because
I've gotten
they're
a little bit into plush, because what I've heard on your podcast, and I do have a good one. It wasn't, I didn't make that much money, but it was this cute little Walmart cow Easter bunny with the cow print in its ears or something like that. And it was, I think it did still have the tag on it. And I bought it for $1.99 and I listed it for $35 and it sold the next day. I could have gotten more. I find out from one of my teenagers, oh yeah, that was all over TikTok last year. So
oh,
that's
okay.
why it was, and I remember, when I looked it up on eBay and just thinking like, wow, 30 for some like, stuffed animal that was like $12 originally from Walmart. But still, I made my money, made somebody happy, and it was just the most darling little cow Easter bunny. So,
Yeah, you just
but I'm
never
not
know.
on
And there's a lot of
TikTok,
that.
so I have no
Um,
clue about what's on TikTok except
I
for
don't
what
do
my
that
kids tell
either.
me.
But the Lennox spice jars that
Yes,
like
I've
the little
heard you on your show about
um,
them.
that's why those got so popular was either Instagram or TikTok. Uh, I guess the late 20s, early 30s generation
Mhm.
was showing collections. And so that made it more popular.
Right.
And and it's old and they're not making them anymore and all those reasons. But yeah, sometimes it's like you can't figure out why something is so highly desired if you're not plugged into all these different social media sites, because
Right.
I'm not.
No, who
I
has time for
pretty
that? I
much
don't have the desire. Even if I had the time, I don't have the desire.
right.
And
And most people are like, well, who cares why it's valuable? It just is. Well, I like to know why, because it could fizzle out. Something else
right,
could take its place. Some things aren't good forever. Some are.
right,
But yeah, I just I'll Google it, why is such and such so popular and try to figure out what's going on. Oh, it's, this is on Stranger Things, the TV show, or whatever, this is what so and so wore in this movie. And you just can't know it all. You can't,
no.
it's too much. So, okay. Well, we're getting to the end. Did you want to answer one of the questions?
So, even though I'm a librarian, I really don't find that I have a lot of time to read. The only time I have to read is at night, and a book will put me to sleep. So I do listen to podcasts. Um, and really lately I've just been listening to a lot of more of the reselling podcasts. I
Yeah.
like Pure Hustle. And I also
Mhm.
like resellers mindset, which I've heard people talk about. on this show, but I'm also a true crime buff. And
Mm-hmm.
so I do like, there's a podcast called Criminal, which I think if you like true crime, but it just kind of approaches it sometimes from like a different point of view. It's not just all stories about like husbands who kill their wives. I'd say it's like intelligently done. And just there'll be some cases from back in the 1800s, mysteries. It's just really, I like listening to it, and the person who narrates it just has this very like soothing voice. So I would recommend Criminal to any true crime buffs who are
Oh,
also our
great.
eBay resellers.
Yeah, I love true crime. I try to limit it though, because it can be kind of dark and
Yes.
dismal. It's
Yeah,
like I used to
absolutely.
listen to what is it, City Confidential, an old show on A&E, but it
Okay.
was Bill Curtis was the narrator, and then it switched over to a guy named Paul Winfield, but both have this very nice soothing voice that I would turn it on to go to sleep.
Right,
It's
right.
it was, and even though he's talking about someone being decapitated, it's in this very,
Yeah, it doesn't
very
sound
calm
as
voice.
grisly.
Right, right. So I feel you on that. Sometimes it's just the voice is what appeals to you. So anyway, well, thank you so much for coming on, and
Thank you
we
for
will.
having me. I'm glad that I said yes.
I am too. I learned a lot from you, and I'm sure the
Aw.
listeners will too.
Well, thank
Okay,
you,
well,
Suzanne. Bye.
bye.
Always a pleasure chatting with my guests here on the show. We're going to move on to today's trivia question. Sally mentioned the Baby Morgan blanket being on her Holy Grail list. When did these blankets first appear on the market? Here's a few seconds to think about it. Okay, this is from the Baby Morgan website. These blankets are still being made, but the vintage ones are highly sought after and sell for the most money. The website says, "These blankets must be made of fairy dust, unicorn tears, and real gold thread," I thought to myself as I sold yet another used Baby Morgan blanket on eBay for $170. The year was 2013. I had been selling used items I picked up at garage sales and thrift stores on eBay for 15 years, and by far the most sought after item I sold was Baby Morgan blankets. That is, when I could find them. These blankets were extremely popular in the 80s and 90s, so I was surprised to learn that the company had gone out of business and the blankets were no longer being made. But I figured, surely something just like them would soon come along. Fast forward to 2020, I was still selling used items on eBay. Baby Morgan blankets were still popular, and still no one was making anything like them. I decided that I would be the one to bring these beloved blankets back to the market. I love to hear from customers about how receiving a blanket had made their day. And that was written by the founder of the new Baby Morgan company that restarted back in 2020. And Baby Morgan blankets have been a hot item on eBay for a long time. I actually included them in my first BOLO book back in 2021. And speaking of the BOLO books, I get a lot of questions about combining shipping on these if multiple books are purchased. And yes, of course I will. I can ship up to 4 of them in a padded flat rate mailer for $10. So don't hesitate to reach out and ask for the shipping discount if you want to buy more than one, meaning buy different editions from different years, or buy multiples. Keep one for yourself, give one as a gift. And they do make a very unique, fun gift. Okay, next week my guest is Cheryl, who has a rich history in reselling and was kind enough to fit in our Zoom call interview while her grandchildren were visiting, which I really appreciate. Summer is busy for everybody, and I always appreciate my guests taking the time out of their busy, hectic schedule to talk with me about eBay. And thank you, listeners, for supporting this podcast and listening to it week after week. I hope you have a stellar week on eBay. Talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.